Here on Exploring Brain and Mind, I often talk about how to optimize the brain. For example, how to improve cognition, learn faster, sleep better, or boosting the neurotransmitters. But today I'm doing something different because optimization isn't always about what you add. Because sometimes it's about what you remove or what you better not put into your brain and mind. And it's to raise awareness about chemicals in our environment, in our food, in our personal care products. I'm not going deeper into the history of some of these chemicals, but it is to raise awareness about the impact that some of them, the ones that I'm going into, are having on our neurobiology, but also on our mental health. And I'm all about health prevention and making people aware before things are happening in a bad way. To start the episode, let's consider the following. According to the EPA, that's the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's the US one, there are currently over 80,000 synthetic chemicals registered for use in the United States alone. Thousands are added to our food, personal care products, and cleaners, like cleaning products, every year, and most have never been tested for their long-term impact on human neurobiology. We like to think of our brain as a fortress, but the blood-brain barrier is more like a selective filter, and many modern chemicals are designed to bypass this blood-brain barrier. Things in the UK are a little bit different. The number of synthetic chemicals registered for use in the UK differs significantly from the United States, largely due to stricter regulatory frameworks inherited from the EU, while the US Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA, inventory has contained those over 80,000 chemicals. The UK, operating under UK REACH, REACH, post-Brexit, maintains a more restrictive list of approximately 4,000 to 22,000 substances, depending on whether one counts, in quote, grandfathered, end quote, EU registrations or active, fully registered substances. And though there are a lot of different chemicals that I could go into, I chose 10 different ones that we come across a lot. Let's first start with some so-called legacy toxins. These are foundational brain destroyers, and they are the heavy metals. First one is lead. Lead lingers in vintage pipes, contaminated soil, and some imported spices. Crucially, lead is still frequently found as a contaminant in many lipsticks to achieve deep pigment, meaning we often ingest it directly, especially the women who use a lot of lipsticks. The impact of lead is that it mimics calcium. The brain is tricked, in quotes, into letting it in, where it disrupts neurotransmitters and drives chronic neuroinflammation. The second one is mercury, sometimes also found as methyl mercury. It is found primarily in high predatory fish like tuna. However, don't overlook, in quotes, silver amalgam dental fillings, which are roughly 50% elemental mercury and can release low-level vapors over time. The impact of mercury is a so-called thiol seeker. It physically dismantles microtubules, the scaffolding holding your neurons together. When the scaffolding collapses, the neuron dies. And I've actually got a story about amalgam because one of my teachers at school, she had mercury poisoning from amalgam and fillings. Now, again, everybody is different. So there might have been more sensitivity with regards to the mercury, but still it should not be underestimated. And the third heavy metals example is arsenic, which is found in groundwater and in rice. Beyond that, arsenic is a well-known component in rat poison and can be found in some pressure-treated wood, also called lumber, and even in certain glass-making processes. The impact of arsenic is that arsenic starves the brain of energy by interfering with mitochondrial function. Another hint at the side. If you are a true crime follower, you will be aware that arsenic was used a lot by killers and serial killers, especially in Victorian times, because it was far too easily accessible over the counter and with not enough regulations in place. Next, let's look at some chemicals and groups of chemicals in personal care and makeup items. The average person applies over 100 chemicals to their skin before leaving the house. And the first one in that group are the phthalates. Hidden under the word fragrance or perfume are those phthalates. Look for names like DEP, which is called diethyl phthalate, DBP, which is called dibutyl phthalate, or DEHP on ingredient lists. The impact that phthalates have are that they are endocrine disruptors and they scramble, in quotes, hormonal signals, leading to anxiety and brain fog as an example. The next lot in that group are the parabens. The parabens are common preservatives in moisturizers. You'll see them listed as methylparaben, ethylparaben, or propylparaben. The impact of parabens is that they can cross the blood-brain barrier and keep the brain's immune system in a state of high alert. Then we have aluminium, that the Americans call aluminum. It's the same thing. Aluminium is found in conventional antiperspirants and in antacids as well. And aluminium is a neurotoxin that promotes oxidative stress and interferes with iron metabolism. And next, let's look at the so-called diet and additive connection by looking at some excitotoxins, as they are called. They are substances that literally excite your brain cells to death. The first one is the famous monosodium glutamate, MSG. It is found in processed snacks and fast food, like in McDonald's food and in Chinese takeaways, for example. Now note that the MSG is often hidden under the trade name Vetsin or listed simply as hydrolyzed vegetable protein or as yeast extract. The impact of monosodium glutamate or MSG is that it overstimulates NMDA receptors, causing neurons to fire so intensely they become exhausted and die. Next, let's look at the artificial sweeteners, like aspartame, for example. And artificial sweeteners are often found in diet sodas, but also very often in products where it says no added sugar. When you see products like that, look at the list and see what kind of sweeteners are in there. Because of its bad reputation, aspartame is often rebranded under names like amino sweet or NutraSweet, or watch out for other sweeteners like saccharin or sucralose as well. Now, I remember saccharin used to be very much in products for diabetics. So the question is it actually really good for diabetics or not? The impact of sweeteners, we have the example of aspartame. That breaks down into phenylalanine and methanol, which disrupts the production of serotonin and dopamine. Might be an idea to research if people who have issues with regards to lack of dopamine or serotonin, which led to their mental health issues, if that has something to do with their lifestyle and what they're consuming. Just an idea. Maybe there has been research out there. I have not looked deeper into the subject, but it might be well worth doing that. And the next part is about hidden toxins in pharmaceuticals. A pill is often made of 90% fillers, known as excipients. And two of these examples are the titanium dioxide, which is a white pigment that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And then there's the aluminium lakes, used as dyes in over-the-counter medicines. And then we have the vaccine adjuvants. It's important to note that certain vaccinations utilize aluminium as aluminium salts as an adjuvant to stimulate an immune response. While intended for protection, this adds to the body's total aluminium burden. So always consult your doctor before changing any medication. I have to say that because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medic, I'm not a medical scientist or anything like that. But be aware that these things are in medications, and I'm sure there can be even a bigger episode made about what kind of should or should not be in medications. And finally, we have environmental solvents and pesticides. First one of them are the organophosphates, that's the pesticides, found on produce and in bug sprays. A major example is glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, along with chlorpyrifos and malathion, which are frequently used in industrial farming. The impact of those are these kind of substances were originally developed as nerve agent. They cause a signal overload, in quotes, in the nervous system. And then we've got toluene, which is found in nail polish and hair dyes. It may also appear on labels as methylbenzene, toluol, or phenylmethane. The impact of toluene is that as a fat-soluble solvent, it is drawn to your brain, which is 60% fat, and can dissolve the protective myelin sheath. Next point is what can we do? What are action steps that can be done? This list can feel overwhelming, this list of even just the groups and certain substances that we went into. It can feel overwhelming, but the goal isn't to live in fear. It's to live with intention. You can drastically reduce your toxic load with simple shifts. Number 1, switch to fragrance-free or essential oil-based products to eliminate phthalates. Number 2, stick to salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines and herring to get your omega-3s without the mercury. If you can find out where the fish is coming from, sometimes farmed fish has a bad reputation when it comes to contaminants. But also keep in mind how our oceans can be very polluted in some areas. So yes, be aware. And number 3 is to check your supplements and medications for things like titanium dioxide or artificial dyes and aluminium. Ask your pharmacists if there are so-called cleaner versions available. And number 4 is find out how clean cosmetics and personal care products are with the Think Dirty app. And there are actually far more apps like that available. And these can be for household items or personal care. So first alternative one is the EWG's Healthy Living app. EWG stands for Environmental Working Group. This is considered one of the most comprehensive apps covering personal care, food and household cleaning products. It provides a 1 to 10 score based on ingredient toxicity, focusing on potential cancer risks, developmental harm and asthma or respiratory issues. Next up is Yuka, Y-U-K-A. While very popular for food, Yuka also analyzes cosmetics and personal care products. It gives an overall health impact score out of 100, marking products as excellent, good, mediocre or poor, and suggests safer alternatives. Next up is called Detox Me. It was developed by the Silent Spring Institute. This app is specifically designed for lifestyle changes to reduce exposure to toxic chemicals. It extends beyond beauty and covers household products, furniture, clothing and food, and offering research-based tips. Next up is Clearya, C-L-E-A-R-Y-A. This app or browser extension helps you shop online, for example for Amazon or Sephora, by scanning product ingredients for toxins and flagging harmful ingredients, such as carcinogens or endocrine disruptors before you buy them. Then there is Redify, a specialized scanner for checking household goods, personal care, baby products, and food for chemicals of health concern. It includes a so-called toxic tally to track your exposure and an advocacy tool to send requests to brands. And if that wasn't enough already, there are some more specialized and ingredient-focused apps. There's the INCI Beauty app. This app is very popular in Europe and provides an easy-to-read so-called flower rating, as in showing green or red. And that's based on the safety of ingredients in beauty products. Then there's the Code Check app, a strong alternative for scanning items to find detailed information about ingredients, allergens, and environmental impacts. Then there's also an app that's called OnSkin, which focuses specifically on beauty and personal care with AI-driven ingredient analysis, giving safety scores based on allergy risks, carcinogenity, and endocrine disruption. And finally, there's the Chemical Maze app. It provides detailed information on additives and chemicals found in both foods and cosmetics or household products, helping users identify potential irritants or health risks. Isn't it great that we now have more and more apps coming up that are trying to help people to understand what they consume, both in food, both in personal care, cosmetics, and in other items? Actually, I noticed that none of the apps mention anything about ingredients in medications. And there's an opportunity for app developers to develop apps that look more into that direction. But I'm sure the pharma industry would not be very happy to see apps that focus on any kind of adverse things in medications. To conclude today's episode is that our brain is resilient, but it needs a clean environment to thrive. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind, our April episode. If you found the episode useful, like and share it with others who need to be made aware of chemicals in our environment. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to Exploring Brain and Mind on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music and YouTube. And I hope you tune in again to one of the next episodes. Remember, at the moment, all the early solo episodes are being uploaded on YouTube on a weekly basis. And in between those, there will be a monthly brand new episode. The next one will be due in early May, the next one of the monthly ones. But keep on hopping over to YouTube to listen to the early solo episodes. Thanks for listening and see you again soon.